Senator Ron Wyden just delivered a blistering opening statement. He said the Trump administration has set a new high watermark for public corruption. The moment arrived 2 weeks ago with the settlement of Trump's IRS lawsuit. Trump sued his own administration for $10 billion over a tax leak on his watch. A judge was ready to toss the case, so Trump rushed a settlement. The $1.8 billion insurrection fund is gone, but the rest remains.
The acting attorney general went out yesterday and said they're not moving forward with the $1.8 billion insurrection slush fund. The other part of this settlement apparently remains in place, and that is the part that presents the biggest direct benefit to Trump.
Todd Blanche let Trump off the hook for potentially $100 million in back taxes. Then he let the entire Trump family and organization off the hook for any past tax crimes. Wyden's conclusion: every American is subject to audit except the Trump family. 2 former IRS commissioners confirmed this is without precedent. Wyden called it a crooked double standard. He said it's an admission of Trump's guilt on tax cheating.
A crooked double standard that benefits Trump and family. I take it as an admission of his own guilt when it comes to tax cheating.
Then Wyden turned to the economy. The president said he does not think about Americans' financial situation. Not even a little bit. Wyden said he has never heard a president speak so dismissively about the hurt of the American people. Let's watch.
And with that, I turn to the ranking member for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There is lots to work on. Now, colleagues, it was just a matter of time before the Trump administration set the new high water mark for public corruption. That moment arrived a little more than 2 weeks ago with the settlement of Trump's ridiculous IRS lawsuit. This hearing is the first opportunity for Congress to examine it. So let's start by zooming out to get a full appreciation of how dirty this whole situation has been. Donald Trump sued his own administration for $10 billion over a tax return leak that happened on his watch. A judge appeared ready to toss the lawsuit, so Trump rushed a settlement for personal gain. The acting attorney general went out yesterday and said they're not moving forward with the $1.8 billion insurrection slush fund. The other part of this settlement apparently remains in place, and that is the part that presents the biggest direct benefit to Trump. Todd Blanche let Trump off the hook for potentially $100 million in back taxes by canceling what's reported to be a long-running dispute with the IRS. Then he let the entire Trump family and the Trump organization off the hook for any tax crimes they may have committed in the past. As of right now, everybody in America is subject to audit except the Trump family. Unfortunately, the Senate Republican leader was quoted this morning saying that this is business as usual, that it's a standard settlement. The reality is that's totally wrong. 2 former IRS commissioners have now confirmed that this is completely without precedent. It's the ultimate case of an ultra-wealthy individual living under one set of rules while everybody else lives under another. A crooked double standard that benefits Trump and family. I take it as an admission of his own guilt when it comes to tax cheating. Trump and his family have been stuffing every dollar they can grab into their own pockets. If everything was on the level, it seems to me he wouldn't need Todd Blanche to get the IRS off his back. Secretary Bessent owes the committee an explanation of what the Treasury knows about the dirty settlement. That's because his department was involved from beginning to end. Treasury was a defendant and a negotiator in the lawsuit. It was informed by IRS attorneys that Trump had no real case. And it sure looks to me like Treasury's top lawyer quit his job in objection to the settlement. This is an abuse of the IRS that goes way beyond anything that I have any familiarity with. My view is this committee needs to investigate this on a bipartisan basis. Blanche allegedly dropped the insurrection fund doesn't change that. So what's particularly shocking about a corrupt deal like this is it comes when so many American families are fearful about the economy. I was home last week having 4 town hall meetings in parts of my state that are bright red. And what they talked to me about was the pain of inflation going up, wage growth going down, the job market flattening. The Trump administration doesn't seem to care. Last week, Secretary Bessent was asked during an interview about price increases caused by the Iran war. He said, I quote, "It was less than $200 in extra gasoline costs. All the Democrats want to talk about is beef and gasoline." Now, to me, you might think that a political leader couldn't get any more dismissive of people's economic concerns. But then Donald Trump topped it himself. When asked if Americans' financial situations made him think about ending the war that he started, he said, and I quote, "Not even a little bit." He continued, "I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody." Mr. Chairman and colleagues, I've never heard a President of the United States talk in such a dismissive way about the hurt of the American people. And then he rambled through his ever-changing goals in the quagmire of a war. No sympathy for struggling families at all from the president. Americans are increasingly spending down their savings and going into debt to get by. The people running the country are ratcheting up the cost of living with wars, tariffs, and cuts to health care and basic services. It's cold comfort to somebody who had to max out their tax credit card to feed their kids that Trump might get his face on a $250 bill. But that's the kind of priority that apparently the Treasury Department is focusing on these days. Even outside of economic matters, the Treasury Secretary is simply out of step with the American people. There's no better example than the fact that there's been a cover-up of the massive file of Epstein's financial records for a year and a half. This is part of the effort I've made. It's the only one to follow the money in the Epstein situation, and yet there's been a denial of access to committee investigators and lying in public about their significance. That subject alone deserves its own hearing. Senate investigators are trying to figure out who paid Epstein for girls, and unfortunately, Secretary Bessent is involved in preventing that from happening. The bottom line in this administration is the machinery of government works to the benefit of Donald Trump before all else. That's the corrupt framework that produces insurrection slush funds, protects pedophiles, and dismisses the concerns of people who are worried about being able to make rent and to feed their families. There is an awful lot for the committee to discuss today, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to question and answers. Senator Crapo.
This opening statement is a masterclass in how to frame a scandal. Senator Ron Wyden did not ask a question. He did not cross-examine a witness. He laid out the facts. He named the players. He identified the pattern, and he let the implications speak for themselves. The central fact is simple. Donald Trump sued his own administration for $10 billion over a tax return leak. The leak happened on his watch. A judge appeared ready to toss the lawsuit. So Trump rushed a settlement. The settlement had 2 parts. The first part was the $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. The administration has backed off that fund. The backlash was too intense. But the second part remains. Todd Blanche let Trump off the hook for potentially $100 million in back taxes. Then he let the entire Trump family and the Trump organization off the hook for any tax crimes they may have committed in the past. Wyden's conclusion is devastating and quotable. As of right now, everybody in America is subject to audit except the Trump family. Wyden then addressed the Republican talking point. The Senate Republican leader said this is business as usual, a standard settlement. Wyden cited 2 former IRS commissioners who have confirmed that this is completely without precedent. It is not standard. It is not business as usual. It is a crooked double standard that benefits Trump and his family. Wyden said he takes it as an admission of Trump's own guilt when it comes to tax cheating. If everything was on the level, Trump would not need Todd Blanche to get the IRS off his back. Wyden then turned to the economic pain that American families are feeling. He held 4 town hall meetings in parts of his state that are bright red. Republicans, Trump voters, and what they talked about was the pain of inflation, wage growth going down, the job market flattening. The Trump administration does not seem to care. Secretary Bessent dismissed price increases as less than $200 in extra gasoline costs. He said all Democrats want to talk about is beef and gasoline. Then Trump topped it. When asked if Americans' financial situations made him think about ending the war, he said, "Not even a little bit." He said, "I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody." Wyden said he has never heard a president of the United States talk in such a dismissive way about the hurt of the American people. Wyden then connected the dots. The same administration that gave Trump tax immunity is also covering up the Epstein financial records. Senate investigators are trying to figure out who paid Epstein for girls. Secretary Bessent is involved in preventing that from happening. Wyden did not provide evidence. He made an accusation. But the accusation is serious. The Treasury Secretary is stonewalling an investigation into a child sex trafficking ring. That should be front-page news. Wyden's closing line is the thesis of the entire statement. The bottom line in this administration is the machinery of government works to the benefit of Donald Trump before all else. That is the corrupt framework. It produces insurrection slush funds. It protects pedophiles. It dismisses the concerns of people who are worried about making rent and feeding their families. Wyden did not raise his voice. He did not interrupt. He stated facts. He drew conclusions. He did his job. The underlying issue here is not about taxes. It is not about Epstein. It is not about the economy. It is about whether the rule of law applies equally to everyone. The Trump family has been given immunity from tax audits. No other American has that. The Trump administration is stonewalling an investigation into Epstein's finances. No other administration has done that. The president says he does not think about Americans' financial situation. No other president has said that. Wyden is right. This is a new high watermark for public corruption, and the committee's job is to investigate it.